So I'd like to now start about this meeting. And so we're going to go around the room and get acquainted. I'm going to talk to you about how the community works. Some of you, it's the first time for participating in one of these events. We are a grassroots community. That means there's no legal structure. There's no intellectual property limitations or conditions to this discussion. There's no clear funding. There's no business model. What we're joined by really is a passion to see for a world in which there's open and interoperable content, augmented reality content and experiences. And it's that vision, it's that goal that brings this group together. And we do have a portal, which you've probably found. And if you'd like to be involved in helping me make it better, and I can list an infinitely long list of ways it could be improved, I'm looking for volunteers. We do have mailing lists. Really, that's the way you're going to hear about this and hear about upcoming upcoming community meetings through that mailing list. It's not terribly, well, it depends. Sometimes people get on there and there's a lot of interaction, and then it'll quieten down, so it's bursty as a list. And some of you write to it, so I don't need to explain that too much. So and we have, of course, the face-to-face meetings. We've tried virtual meetings. People are not really going that direction. I already said that open and interoperable, but it's not just enough to say you want it. You need to work towards it. We need to work to reduce the barriers and accelerate that vision. So we're not alone. There's quite a lot of us, 250 people on the mailing list. This group of people, we usually have between 30 and 40 people coming to the meetings. People from all parts of the world and many different standards organizations. And this is what we call the tiles, the landscape of augmented reality standards development organizations. So the organizations, most standards are developed by members. They're not developed top-down by some organization saying we should have that. Most standards should be based on needs, on requirements, and those are expressed by members of groups. And you'll hear from those groups today. But that's generally how standards work. Even the International Standards Organization has other standards organizations as its members. So there's this pattern. The first 3 standards organizations that we saw come to this meetings in October 2010 or earlier were these. We very quickly realized that people would say, oh, doesn't the OGC do something? Yeah, isn't there something with it? So luckily, there was the OGC representative to Asia or Korea was in the room and gave us a quick shot, and very quickly after that, George began to provide us with a lot more insights and exchange. For a while, there was the Open Mobile Alliance, and maybe we will hear, George, if you had a meeting with them, I'd love to hear what the currents are. For about 4 meetings, there was a representative that was speaking about some work that was going on in there. It seems to have quietened down. It's not unusual. We saw that with the W3C as well. But that doesn't mean that the work is lost. Sometimes what happens is some investment will be made by members towards the development of a standard, and then it'll quieten down, and another standards development organization or other members might pick that up and continue, as is happening today with the points of interest activity. So we've definitely seen the interest of the ISO. There are 2 subcommittees that have expressed strong interest. You'll hear from one of them tomorrow. Rob represents and sometimes attends, and Anita attends the meetings of another standards, another subcommittee. So the ISO graphics is and acceleration. Did I already push down? Yes. We had one time somebody from Display Technologies, Peter's here, and We have had the recurring interest of NISO, which is the U.S. National, I think, Information Standards Organizations. They're actually the people who publish the Dewey Decimal System originally, like, you know, centuries ago, how you file books. And you can very much see how that's relevant. So they are coming to New York. Yes, the executive director of NISO will be making a presentation for that meeting 29th and 30th of May. We keep talking about the next meeting. It's the 29th and 30th of May, and there's a page on the web, on the portal. But then we're also starting to see, and I think we're going to see more vertical market industry associations that have standards of their own in buildings and in perhaps construction, maintenance, roads, traffic. There are many, many, many vertical markets where augmented reality is relevant. So together we're collecting and monitoring the progress of those standards. That's one of the things that we have to do. That's a coordination activity. What we want to do is to detect if there's overlap, or better yet, where there are complementary activities, where the activity of one standards organization can feed into and be done in parallel or in some configuration with another standard, so that we're reducing redundancy. And we also want to provide this neutral environment where different initiatives can be heard about, where we can learn what people are doing and how they might benefit from having our help. We try to provide inputs into those standards development organizations and to provide an expression of needs. So the developers in the room are extremely important to us. We hear, and we're all responsible for acquiring the needs of developers worldwide. What are the tools that they need and the standards? What will help us to make augmented reality open and interoperable? So that's what we do. I like to say we have resources. We create these resources. The landscape is one of them, the one that you saw a little earlier, those hexagonal tiles. On the portal, there's a list. Every meeting, I compile a list of what the status is of every one of the standards development organizations. Sometimes nothing happens, but that's okay. That's still a status. So we do maintain this. We've been working on a vocabulary, glossary of terms, and we'll talk about that. I think there's a session dedicated to this subject. We have worked on use cases, and on and on. It's interesting because we worked on those pieces separately, and then for a while they have been living in an augmented reality reference model. I'm not sure that's going so well, so I'm going to propose that we actually go backwards in time and maybe work on the glossary and the use cases again until such a time that the reference model story sorts itself out. We have an open letter to the manufacturers of subsystems, and we'd like to communicate more with people who do displays. In particular, that letter is for the display, augmented reality, see-through hardware. And there's, of course, all the archives of the discussions in these meetings. So I talked about the glossary being something that we want to continue to work on. So today and tomorrow is about getting reports, understanding it's a discussion, so you can discuss whether those relative standards are important to you or not. I think we're going to work this afternoon on what are some emerging activities. We'll be hearing about haptics. Unfortunately, there's nobody here. I invite a lot of people to talk to us about sound, audio or acoustic augmented reality. I'll tell you a little bit more about that anyway. The focus, I think one of the focuses is definitely going to be on interoperability. How do we define interoperability? How do you test for it? How do you develop interoperable products and experiences? That's it for me and for the introductions and sort of setting the stage. Look forward to hearing a lot from you in the next couple of days. We got Neil, turning it over to Neil Trevitt from the Cronus Group.